The first thing that happens is, as you think about food, is you begin to produce saliva. And in that saliva is digestive enzymes, specifically amylase, which is what helps you to digest starches. It's your first stage of starch digestion is in your mouth. Now you chew your foods up, if you chew them, and mix them well with saliva, and then you swallow it. The food travels down into the esophagus. Before it enters the stomach, it passes through what we call a sphincter muscle called the lower esophageal sphincter, and then the food passes into the stomach. Now, when you've started to think about food again, other things are happening. First, you begin to increase the mucus lining of the stomach. The next step is the production of hydrochloric acid and pepsin. And that's very, very important, because what hydrochloric acid does when it's secreted is it signals this lower esophageal sphincter to tighten and close. Because guess what happens? You begin to churn the food up, and if that sphincter muscle doesn't tighten and close, you will reflux food into the esophagus. Your esophagus doesn't have a mucus lining to protect it, so it's going to irritate and inflame it if you reflux your foods. Now the next stage is food begins to leave the stomach, and it begins to leave the stomach in small portions. So as it leaves, you have two ducts, and that's duct, not quacking ducks. It's a duct. And this duct comes from the pancreas, and that's where your digestive enzymes are produced. That's protease for protein digestion, amylase for starch digestion, and lipase for fat digestion. This process must take place in order for you to have nutrients available for the health of your body. So what do you need to do with this digestion? You break protein to amino acids, your starches to glucose, and your fats to fatty acid. And this is the process that must happen. Now the next step, food travels into the small intestine. This is where most of our nutrients are absorbed. So we have in this small intestine a nice mucus lining, and it is sort of like your gatekeeper, this small intestine. And what I mean by that, if you've properly broken down your protein, your starches, and your fats, your gatekeeper, which is your mucus lining, says, okay, you can enter the bloodstream to provide nutrients for your body. It also acts as a barrier, so it's like a filter. So guess what? You don't want everything passing along your intestinal tract in your bloodstream. That is not good. So it is a barrier to keep out undigested foods, bacteria, parasites, anything like that from entering your bloodstream. So this small intestine is crucial to the health of the rest of your body. Now next is your large intestine, or we call it the colon. So as contents are coming over through the ileocecal valve into the large intestine, they should be in a liquid form. What does the colon do? It takes the water out of it. Very simple. It moves it up across the transverse colon, down the descending colon, and out the body. And as it does so, as it extracts more water from it, you develop a more solid bowel movement. Now, in this colon is something called bacteria. And you know what? We have become so bacteriophobic in this country. But this bacteria, most of it, is very friendly to you, and you have about 2 to 4 pounds of it, which is about the size and weight of a brick. Now, next thing that occurs is something called a bowel movement that we don't want to talk about.